There's another national anthem playing, not the one you cheer at the ballpark.
Where's my prize?
It's the other national anthem saying, if you want to hear, it says
Bullshit!
It says never, it says sorry, loud and clear, it says listen to the tune that keeps sounding in the distance on the outside coming through the crowd. To the hearts that go on pounding, to the sound getting louder every year. Listen to the sound, take a look around. We're the other national anthem folks, the ones that can't get into the ballpark. Spread the word. There's another national anthem folks, for those who never win.
For the suckers!
For the pikers! For the ones who might have been!
There are those who love regretting, there are those who like extremes, there are those who thrive on chaos and despair. There are those who keep forgetting that the country's built on dreams.
People listen!
And the mailman won the lottery!
They may not want to hear it, but they listen once they think it's gonna stop again.
And the usherette's a rock star!
No, they may not understand all the words, all the same they hear the music.
They hear the scream!
I've got news!
They hear the sobs, they hear the drums.
You forgot about the country!
The muffled drums, the muffled
So
dreams.
it's now forgotten you!
And they rise.
You know why I did it? 'Cause there isn't any Santa Claus!
Where's my prize?
And you forgot
What's my price?
how quick it heals.
Promises
That it's a place where you can make the lies come true.
Spread the word.
If you try,
Gotta spread the word.
that's all you have to do.
Right, all you have to do. Well, there's another national anthem, and I think it just began in the ballpark. Listen hard, like the other national anthem says to each and every fan. If you can't do what you want to, then you do the things you can. You gotta try again, like they say. You gotta keep on trying every day until you get a prize. Until you get a prize. Until you're hanged. Mustn't get discouraged. Spread the word. Mustn't give up hope. Up to you. Don't say what you choose. It's never gonna happen. Spread the word. You can always get a prize. You can always get your dream.
Sure, the mailman won the lottery.
And now the motorcade is turning into Elm Street. There's someone holding up a banner. All the way with JFK. The president is smiling and waving as his car heads for Dealey Plaza, where it will swing past the Texas Book Depository and onto the Trade Mart, where...
Take a look, Lee. Do you know what that is? That is America. The land where any kid can grow up to be president. The shining city, Lee. It shines so bright you have to shade your eyes. But in here, this is America too. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. An American said that, and he was right. But let me tell you something. There are no lives of quiet desperation in here. Desperation, yes, but quiet, I don't think so. Not today. Today we are going to make a joyful noise. This is the big one. You are the big one. You are the one who's going to sum it all up and blow it all wide open. I have seen the future, Lee. And you are it.
People will hate me.
They will hate you with a passion, Lee. Imagine people having passionate feelings about Lee Harvey Oswald. Oh, somebody help me!
Per favore, ti prego, ti supplico.
Please, we beseech you.
Noi siamo
We
disperati,
are the hopeless ones, the
smarriti.
lost ones.
Viviamo la nostra vita in
We
esilio.
live our lives in exile.
Rimpatriati nella nostra terra.
Expatriates in our own country.
Siamo portati sin dalla nascita,
drift from birth to death,
disperandoci,
despairing.
inconsolabili.
Inconsolable.
Ma
But
attraverso le tue
through you
azioni
and through your acts,
possiamo
we
sparare.
dare to hope.
Attraverso le tue azioni, ravvivendoci, dandoci senso.
You and your act, we are revived and given meaning.
Ognuno della nostra vita
Our
e della
lives,
nostra azione
our
diventano
acts are given meaning.
significativi. Le nostre frustrazioni svaniscono.
Our frustrations fall away.
I nostri sogni profondi diventano veri.
Our fondest dreams come true.
Oggi,
Today,
attraverso te, siamo rinati.
we are reborn through you.
We need you, Lee.
Without you, we're just footnotes in a history book.
Disappointed office seeker.
Deranged immigrant, inglorious actor.
Without you, we're a bunch of freaks.
With you, we are a force of history.
We become immortal.
Finally, we belong.
To one another.
To the nation.
To the ages.
Bring us together, babe.
If you think you can't connect, connect to us.
You think you're powerless? Empower us. It's in your grasp, Lee. All you have to do is move your little finger. You can close the New York Stock Exchange.
Shut down the schools in Indonesia.
In Florence, Italy, a woman will leap from the Duomo, clutching a picture of your victim and cursing your name.
Your wife will weep.
His wife will weep.
The world will weep.
Grief beyond imagining.
Despair.
The death of innocence and hope.
The bitter burdens that you bear.
Bitter truths you carry in your heart. You can share them with the world.
You have the power of Pandora's box, Lee. Open it.
I envy you.
We're your family.
I admire you. I respect you.
Make us proud of you.
Family.
Admire you.
Depending
You
on
are
you.
the future.
Family.
Waiting for you, make us listen for you.
Family, make us proud of you. For you are the future. We adore your family.
I was out in the yard, taking down the bed sheets, when my neighbor yelled across.
The president's been shot.
I remember where I was, just exactly where I was, in the yard out back,
The president's been shot.
I was getting me a shoe shine
folding sheets.
when I heard
We were waiting for a carriage.
newsboys.
Suddenly they're shouting in the street. Lizzie sheet.
The president's been shot.
I'll remember it forever. And I thought, where I was, what I was doing. Something just broke.
The president's been shot.
My God. I was up near the ridge, plowing.
We were working at the plant.
I was halfway through correcting the exam.
When my wife,
It was Mike.
she comes tearing across the field.
Mike the foreman.
In runs Billy.
I mean, he was crying.
He was crying.
She was crying.
I'll remember it forever. And I
The
thought,
president's been shot.
you know what? There are presidents who aren't worth a lot.
I kept thinking,
There's the kind that gets elected then forgot.
Mr. Garfield,
Mr. Lincoln,
he's a hack.
Bill McKinley, he's a tyrant.
He's a joke.
Still something just broke.
The president is rallying. The president is sinking. The president is dead.
Something just broke.
I was down at the exchange.
Something just made a little dent. I'd been shopping.
I'd been sick.
Something just broke.
All I know it was a Friday.
Only for a moment.
Exactly.
Something got bent.
I'm taking the order.
Something just left a little mark.
I was getting dressed.
Potato soup.
Something just went a little dark. Something just went.
And I wondered
I was scared of
what would
Something to
follow.
be
Made
mended.
me wonder who we are.
Something we'll have to
In the
weather.
seeing all those
Bringing
torches.
us all together.
He was me.
He was
Only
us.
for a moment.
I'll remember it forever.
Never really ended.
Where I was.
What I was doing.
Just been suspended.
Like a flash.
'Cause something just stirred.
And I thought,
And I thought to
And I
myself.
thought.
Something just woke.
And I thought.
I kept thinking, something just spoke. Something I wish I hadn't heard. Something bewildering occurred.
Fix it up fast, please, till it's just smoke.
Till it's only something just passed. Nothing that will last. Where I was, what I was doing.
Nothing but the moment.
Just an awful moment.
But something just.
Everybody's got the right to be happy. Don't be mad, life's not as bad as it seems. If you keep your goal in sight, you can climb to any height. Everybody's got the right to their dreams.
Everybody's got the right to be different.
If you wanna be different,
At times they go to extremes.
go to extremes.
Anybody can prevail. Everybody's free to fail.
No one can be put in jail for their dreams. Free country means that you've got the choice.
Be a scholar. Make a dollar.
Free country means that you get a voice.
Scream and holler.
Grab 'em by the collar.
Free country
Means you get to connect.
That's it.
Means a right to expect.
that you'll have an effect, that you're gonna connect. Connect, connect, connect. Everybody's got the right to some sunshine. Not the sun, but maybe one of its beams, one of its beams. Rich man, poor man, black or white. Everybody gets a bite. Everybody just hold tight to your dreams.
Everybody's got the right to their dreams. The last words from the assembly of murderous characters brought together by Stephen Sondheim in his musical Assassins. We heard the voices of Michael Cerveris, James Barber, Becky Ann Baker, Dennis O'Hare, Geoffrey Coon, Mario Cantoni, Alexander Gimignani, Mary Catherine Garrison and Neil Patrick Harris. In that recording with musical direction by Paul Gimignani and orchestrations by Michael Starobin. Tomorrow we'll be coming up to date with music from the surprising Passion, from The Frogs, and we'll hear how Bounce metamorphosed into Roadshow.
And that's at the same time tomorrow, midday. Composer of the Week was presented by Donald MacLeod.
Sir Simon Rattle brings an evening of passion to the BBC Proms as he conducts the orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment, playing Wagner and Berlioz. Berlioz regarded the love scene from Romeo and Juliet as one of his greatest achievements and inspired Wagner's Tristan and Isolde. Hear both pieces in the company of Andrew McGregor at the BBC Proms this Sunday at 6:30 here on BBC Radio 3.
Well, we'll be heading back to the Proms a bit later in afternoon on 3 with another chance to hear Monday's concert given by the BBC National Orchestra of Wales with the percussionist Colin Curry.
Conducted the BBC Philharmonic, led by Yuri Torchinsky, who played the violin solos there. Well, that brings me to the end of the programme. Thanks for your company, and do tune in next week if you can. James will be back, and he'll be exploring a collection of music inspired by the American Midwest. Classical Collection is a classic arts production for BBC Radio 3, and many thanks to David Dwight for studio production this week. Well, now it's midday and time to join Donald MacLeod with the last of this week's programmes featuring the music of Stephen Sondheim.
Just as soon as I've arrived with a most unhappy heart.
God, you are so beautiful.
I do not wish to cause
as
you
I
pain.
Remember every night.
So please consider what I say.
Clear and beautiful.
With calm.
Every night, every day, every part of you.
My heart, you feel so good. My heart belongs as if you'd never been away. My heart belongs to someone else. Your breath so warm, your touch so sure.
Your skin so delicate.
Your arms so strong. I am in love, hopelessly in love, hopelessly in love. And I'm loved, hopelessly in touch in your arms.
All this happiness.
You and I.
Being here with you in the dark.
We're not meant for
so
each other.
much happiness.
If I seem to rise something
even
more
than what I felt before.
I apologize.
To feel your touch again.
But since we're forced to be together,
when so much time has
let us
passed,
try to face the fact.
to dream of you and then to be with you again and have some time at last.
Let us both behave with tact.
How long will we apart?
If this letter seems cold-hearted,
a month, a week, a day,
it conceals my own distress nonetheless.
Feel your touch again.
We must end what never started.
You've never been away.
You must recognize there is nothing between us. So much, nothing.
I'm here now.
Nothing. Nothing. Welcome home.
A love triangle perfectly crystallised in words and music by my special guest all this week, Stephen Sondheim. We're in Italy in the 1860s and the air is charged with passion and anger, obsession, frustration and yearning. Beautiful Clara and her handsome soldier lover Georgio are in bed together in Milan, while the third voice we heard in that trio belongs to Fosca, a sickly, hysterical woman without Clara's physical attractions, who's sitting alone in a provincial military outpost reading aloud a letter from Georgio. Stephen, that music comes from a work called simply Passion, your third collaboration with James Lapine, which you yourself have described as one long rhapsody, a straightforward, non-ironic love story. I think that surprised people at the time. Here is Sondheim without irony.
Yes, I know. I'm associated with irony. I happen to like irony, as a matter of fact. And so I think that's a legitimate accusation. But no, Passion was a movie I saw called Passione d'amore, and just fell in love with it and just thought I would love to make a musical out of that.
What was it about this relatively obscure film that touched you?
It was a moment, Georgio, the soldier hero, is waiting to meet this woman he hears screaming upstairs at this outpost that he's been assigned to, and is told that she is a volatile, hysterical woman. And there's a glass brick wall separating the staircase from the dining area, and she comes down and he sees her shadow behind, but she doesn't show up for breakfast, and he's waiting and waiting, and we, the audience, are also waiting to see her. We've only seen her from her back, sitting at a piano playing, and finally she comes down and she turns the corner, and she is this horrifyingly ugly woman, and we see the shock on his face, and he's this beautiful young man. And I suddenly knew that this was going to be a story about how he falls in love with her. And I thought, I can't believe the story I'm going to see. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. And I was completely convinced by it. Some people who've seen Passion say they are not convinced that such a thing would happen. I am. And it was that moved me so deeply, I just wanted to sing about it.
The reaction to a show clearly depends on the audience that's sitting, watching and hearing it. And Passion was first seen at Lincoln Center and then, I think, through several weeks of preview on Broadway. Did the reaction to the piece then, in these different contexts, surprise you?
Well, the only thing that surprised us was the audience laughed where we didn't want them to at a couple of moments in it that had very much to do with the period. For example, there was a moment where Fosca left a lock of her hair for Georgio. That struck the audience as screamingly funny. But that was, a common way of showing affection and emotion in those days. There were other moments, partly because Fosca is such an extreme character. And here she was throwing herself around the stage like Betty Davis at her most demented. And it was difficult for an audience to accept that. And so what we did was we red flagged during the preview period each of the moments that made the audience uncomfortable enough to start giggling. And we either cut them or changed them so that once we opened, nobody ever giggled at the wrong time. There were certainly people who disliked the show or would not believe the story, but we did not have that kind of embarrassment.
Well, we're going to hear a series of extracts from Passion. From the beginning, the middle, and the end. Could you talk us through that?
Well, okay. The first one is Clara and Georgio, after they've made love, declaring verbally their affection for each other. The second is a flashback sequence that occurs two-thirds of the way through the evening, which explains to Georgio how Fosca became the Fosca we know and have met. Then, at the very climax of the show, there's a letter from Clara saying to Georgio that their affair must end because he has clearly fallen in love with this other woman whom Clara has never met. And we hear Georgio's reaction to this letter as well as the letter itself. And then there's the finale of the show, and it's Georgio's declaration of love to Fosca.
I'm so happy I'm afraid I'll die here in your arms. What would you do if I died like this right now here in your arms? That we ever should have met is a miracle.
No, inevitable.
An inevitable, yes, but I confess it was the look.
The look
The sadness in your eyes that day when we glanced at each other.
We were both unhappy.
Unhappiness can be seductive.
You pitied me.
How quickly pity leads to love.
All this happiness, merely from a glance in the park. So much happiness, so much love.
I thought I knew what love was.
I wish we might have met so much sooner. I could
I
not
thought
give
I knew
you
what love was. I thought I knew how much I could feel.
all the time we
I
lost.
didn't know what love
I'd never thought what love was,
but now I do.
It's what I feel with you.
The happiness I feel with you.
So much happiness.
You are so beautiful.
Happening by chance in a park.
Not by chance, by necessity.
Surely this is happiness.
By the sadness that we saw in each
No
other.
one else has ever felt before.
Just another love story. That's what they would claim. Another simple love story. Aren't all of them the same?
No, but this is more. We feel more.
This is so much more. Like every other love story. Some say happiness comes and goes. Then this happiness is a kind of happiness no one really knows. I thought I knew what love was. I thought it was no more than a name for yearning.
I thought it was what kindness became.
I'm learning
I thought where there was love, there was shame.
that with you,
But with you, there's just happiness. Endless happiness. What?
I've been transferred to the 4th Brigade. Oh, Clara, please, don't look so sad.
You're the one that makes me happy.
God, you are so beautiful. I love to see you in the light, clear and beautiful. Memorize every inch, every part of you to take with me.
Georgio.
Your feet so soft as if they'd never touched the ground.
I must go.
Your skin so white, so pure, so delicate. Your smell so sweet, your breath so warm. I will summon you in my mind. I'm painting you indelibly on my mind.
Let me go.
We must fill every moment.
All this happiness ended by a word in the dark.
Oh, my love, oh, my darling.
So much happiness wasn't meant to last.
I am here, I am with you, I am
never knew what
yours.
love was.
Your skin, your
I
silken
always thought I
hair,
didn't
your
deserve
breasts,
it.
your lips. I want you
didn't
every
know
minute of my
love.
life.
I don't know how I'll live when you're gone.
I will always be
I don't know
here.
how I'll live. Georgia, don't leave me.
Captain, I cannot thank you enough. Senora Fosca has always had a shortage of friends.
My dear Giorgio, what a joy to have someone to write to, someone with whom I can share my past.
I was a young man when my parents died, and Fosca's mother and father welcomed me into their house whenever I was on leave. As a child, she was lonely.
I was happy.
Her parents doted on her.
My parents doted on me.
They said,
beautiful, so sensitive, so beautiful. They told me to be careful.
Of course,
Fosca.
To them she was a girl as beautiful as you are has to
and so
be careful.
I thought that I was beautiful. And then I reached the age where being beautiful becomes the most important thing a woman can be.
An unattractive man,
as long as you're a man,
can
you still have opportunities.
Beautiful. Whereas if you're a woman, you either are a daughter or a wife.
A woman is a flower.
You're married, you're 17, or you're a daughter all your life. Now is the hour. I'd met this nice young man.
I'd seen this nice young man.
He'd introduced himself
passing by
at my club
just below my window.
So
one day,
one evening I invited him.
He tipped his hat to me.
Home, Count Ludovic.
I must admit that I was flattered.
This is my Aunt Teresa and my Uncle Bruno.
A count?
From where, if I may ask?
Austria.
Austria. What a beautiful place.
Fosca, we have a visitor.
Imagine my surprise.
I'd like you to meet a new friend, Count Ludovic.
He was even more handsome up close.
I was amazed to see the Count take such an interest in my cousin.
If I had known you were here, Signorina.
If he had known, of course he knew.
I would have brought you many flowers.
If I had known.
You do like flowers.
I should have known.
I've seen you at your window.
Won't you stay for dinner?
Do, yes.
I've watched you every day since I arrived.
I had my suspicion.
I had no suspicion.
I chose not to see.
The way you move, the way you gaze at the sky.
For love had made me blind.
How could I be so blind?
Or what I took for love.
Within a month he had asked for her hand.
Signora Fosca has been married?
Yes.
Austria, Count Ludovic of Austria. I sensed in him a danger, deception, even violence. I must admit to some degree that it excited me.
Austria, Count Ludovic of Austria.
Once they were married, once he received my uncle's sizable dowry, he traveled a great deal, was unavailable to Fosca.
He gambled away the dowry. I was forced to go to my parents to borrow from what little savings they had left.
Then one day as she was coming from market...
Excuse me, you're the wife of a Count Ludovic. Yes?
You fool, the man's a fraud, a fake. The trips he said he had to take abroad, he took them so that he could be with me. He calls himself a count, but he's not. He's never had a title in his life. He doesn't have a title, but he does have a wife and a child in Dalmatia.
No, you must be mistaken.
Oh, yes. He only wants to bleed you until the day he doesn't need you. I warn you, he'll abandon you as he abandoned her and me and countless others, I've no doubt. I'm telling you, the man was born without a heart. You
fool! I confronted him with this information, and he made no attempt to deny it.
Ah, well, at last you know the truth, Signorina. But you as well must face the truth. I've no desire to deceive you anymore, but do admit what you ignore. We made a bargain, did we not? And we got what we bargained for. You gave me your money, I gave you my looks, and my charm, and my arm. I would say that's more than balances the books. Where's the harm? Now it's through. If women sell their looks, why can't a man if he can? Besides, the money wasn't even yours. It belonged to those ridiculous old bores, your parents. Forgive me, my dear, but though you are no cutie, I fear you are not quite the victim you appear. Well, let us part by mutual consent and be content. And so, good luck and goodbye. I must go. Oh, and yes, we haven't paid the rent since July, just so you know.
I returned home to find my parents impoverished and in poor health.
Fosca's health failed.
A woman's like a flower.
She began to suffer her first convulsions. My aunt and uncle nursed her as best they could.
A flower's only purpose is to please.
I spent months looking for the man.
Beauty is power.
By then, of course, he'd vanished.
Longing a disease.
To this day, I dream of finding him and realizing my revenge.
My father died not long thereafter.
How could I be so blind?
I couldn't face the world.
It took her many months to leave her bed. When her mother died, she had nothing really. No one.
So I went to stay with my cousin, who in some way felt responsible for my circumstances.
Why could I not admit the truth? How could I not have seen through the veneer? I told myself as long as she seems happy, why interfere? Or was I just relieved to know that somebody would want her for a wife? In war, you know the enemy that always saw in life. The enemy was love. Selfishness really, but love. All of us blinded by love that makes everything seem possible. You have to pay a consequence for things that you've denied. This is the thorn in my side.
As long as you're a man, you're what the world will make of you. Whereas if you're a woman, you're only what it seems.
A woman is a flower whose purpose is to please. Beauty is power. Longing a disease.
Georgio, Georgio, I am writing to you, my angel, though not long since you've been gone with a most unhappy heart. Because in truth, as time goes on, I think of nothing else but you and us. Oh, my love, my sweet, you've changed. I've watched you change. You're not the man I thought I knew. At times these past few days together, I would wonder whether you were here, really here with me. I thought, was I naive to believe we'd continue year by year? Is it over forever?
When my son is older, when he goes off to school, there is the chance for us to be together. Will you wait for me, Giorgio? I have to know. We both have to know.
Just another love story.
No one is to blame.
A temporary love story.
But it needn't end the same.
I thought we had more.
We had more.
We had something more
than any other love story. All that happiness.
Is this what you call love?
We had then.
This logical and sensible, practical arrangement. This foregone conclusion.
Once again.
You think that this is love? Love isn't so convenient. Love isn't something scheduled in advance, not something guaranteed you need for fear it may pass you by. You have to take a chance. You can't just try it out. What's love unless it's unconditional? Love doesn't give a damn about tomorrow, and neither do I.
All that happiness
was mine.
In the past.
I was yours, you were mine.
That was not just happiness. Love was in that happiness. That's why it will last.
Love is more, I want more. I thought I knew what love was.
I didn't know that love was a complication.
I do know that it's not a negotiation.
We'll take it in our stride.
What we had,
you decide,
wasn't bad.
We could have everything. I want you more than anything.
How sad.
To wait is nothing. We're young and time is nothing.
That what we have is nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
The letter from Clara.
Yes.
It's over.
finished.
I'm sorry.
Sorry? I would have thought that you would be pleased.
I don't wish to see you sad.
I feel so much. But I'm not really sad.
I thought you loved Clara.
I did love Clara. I did. But no one has ever loved me as deeply as you. No one has truly loved me as you have, Fosca. Love without reason, love without mercy, love without pride or shame. Love unconcerned with being returned. No wisdom, no judgment, no caution, no blame. No one has ever known me as clearly as you. No one has ever shown me what love could be like until now. Not pretty or safe or easy, but more than I ever knew. Love within reason, that isn't love. And I've learned that from you. Are you cold?
No. I'm afraid.
Of what?
All this happiness coming when there's so little time. Too much happiness, more than I can bear. You do love me, don't you?
Yes. I love you.
Say it again.
I love you. Be calm, strong. I am yours.
The obsessional and literally fatal passion of Georgio and Fosca is finally consummated in the penultimate scene of Stephen Sondheim's Passion.
I would also like to add that the Passion is going to be done at the Donmar this fall, so if anybody is interested in seeing it, they could see it there.
We heard Jerry Shea as Georgio, Marin Mazzi as Clara, and Donna Murphy, Fosca. The orchestrations were by Jonathan Tunick and musical direction by Paul Geminiani. Well, it's quite a leap from that 19th century world of consuming passions to bungee jumping frogs, but that's our next port of call, and it means quite a jump in time too, to your take on a 2,000-year-old play, Aristophanes' The Frogs. We don't have to go back quite 2 millennia, but to 1974, Yale University, and an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Yes. This was an idea of Bert Shevelov's. He had actually done a version of this when he was teaching at Yale, just before the Second World War. It's in 1941, I believe. And it was Bert's idea to use the Yale swimming team, which was an Olympic champion swimming team, as the Frogs, and have the action take place in and around the Yale pool. So the sides of the pool were the stage, and the pool itself was the river Styx that Dionysus has to cross in order to get to Hades. So he was asked to do this again in 1974, and Bert called me, and I owed Bert a favor. He had done him 2 professional favors for me, and he said, I'm calling in the favor. I want you to write some songs for the Frogs. So I said, sure. Then, many years later, Susan Stroman and Nathan Lane came to me and said they wanted to do a production of the Frogs, and maybe with Nathan rewriting Bert's script to update it. And from a 1-act, it became a 2-act, and Nathan wrote a lot of extra material, and I wrote a few extra songs.
From the Frogs, we're going to hear the big, frenzied choral number, complete with croaking chorus.
It's self-explanatory, I think. Dionysus and Xanthias, his slave, are crossing the river Styx and have been told to beware of the frogs, and suddenly they hear frogs croaking.
What was that? Xanthias, wake up. Xanthias, please wake up. Old man, I need your help. I may be losing my mind, but that sounds like frogs. It is, it's frogs!
What do you think it is, mice? Well, don't you think twice? Let's have eyes that pop, let's have skins that glisten, let's have feet that flop. Elephants, no listen. Hoity-toity intellectuals, not your hippy-dippy homosexuals, just your easygoing, simple, warm-hearted, cold-blooded frogs of the pond, and the frogs may never go beyond. When you rearrange a single frond, we respond with a
Wax, ribbit, ribbit. Oh, Zeus! Mighty and powerful Zeus, dear Father above, help me! Help me! Master!
easygoing, simple, jocular, ocular pros. Who can thrive just by staying friendly and alive? When there's any trouble, we survive. We just dive and go.
How dare you, you twisted amphibious monsters!
What do you get stirring the pot? Wouldn't you rather sit and squat? Everything's gonna stay afloat as long as you don't rock the boat. Dive deep, splash around. What do you want for solid ground? What do you want to get apoplexy? You could be a very sexy frog. Come on, abandon ship and skip the trip and take a dip. Just pull up a pad and simply flop. It's time to stop and frolic and flop and learn how to hop and zip to hop.
This is terrible! This is wonderful! No! Stop, please! Oh, can't we all just get along? I was almost turned into one of the frogs!
I thought he said there were no frogs.
Obviously, we were incredibly misinformed.
They look pretty big to be frogs.
Indeed.
With a surprisingly innate sense of rhythm.
Yes. Do you think we can postpone this discussion until after my rescue?
Sure thing.
Thank you, Xanthius. For a minute there, I was really worried.
No need to worry, Master. Not while I'm around. I got the reflexes of a panther. Well, maybe not a panther, more like a highly strung farm animal. But I'm pretty limber. These frogs, they don't scare me. By the time I'm through with them, there'll be nothing left but the little frog legs, which I hear can make for some pretty good eating. I wonder how they came up with that recipe. Oh, Marcel, we were out of snails. Quick, grab that frog! It's pretty funny, but seriously, Master, I don't... Frogs! Master! I think we're gonna need a bigger boat.
And a giant frog disappears with Dionysus in its mouth. Nathan Lane there as Dionysus, and Roger Bart as Xanthius in that riotous number from Stephen Sondheim's show, The Frogs. Stephen, another leap forwards now will bring us pretty much bang up to date with a show that opened off-Broadway in November 2008. This was Roadshow.
I read a book about these two brothers who were born in the 1880s, died in the 1930s, named Addison and Wilson Meisner. Wilson Meisner was a rogue and a wit and a crook, and his brother Addison was an architect, and the two of them, in fact, were responsible for the Florida boom, which was a huge real estate boom in the 1920s, and then a huge real estate bust in the 1920s. And I always wanted to make a musical of it, and finally, many years later, I mentioned it to John Wyban, and he liked the idea, so we wrote it, and it was called Wise Guys. Then, and it had a workshop, which turned out to be not as successful as we wished. It was not what we wanted. And so we then rewrote it. The first production was that workshop was directed by Sam Mendes. The second one was by Hal Prince. We rewrote it. We called it Bounce. And that didn't work the way we wished either. And then John Doyle got interested in it. And the head of the Public Theater, which is a nonprofit theater in the United States, Oscar Eustis, guided us into the third version, which we call Roadshow, which the boat finally came to port. This is exactly the show we wanted, and we're extremely happy with it.
What was it, in essence, that didn't work the way you wanted? What were you
well,
trying to
the first version, the workshop
final
version, took itself too seriously, not in a pretentious way, but in... Well, I'm trying to avoid using the word that we then used. It lacked bounds. Then Hal felt that that what it lacked was a female lead. The story is the love story between these two brothers, one of whom was literally, we think, at least for our purposes, in love with the other. Addison was in love with Wilson. Addison was homosexual, and Wilson was extremely heterosexual in real life and in our play. But they had a symbiotic relationship, one being the builder and the other the destructor, and it just didn't lift off the ground. And Hal thought what we lacked was sex interest, and that there should be a woman in their lives. So we invented a woman in their lives. We went along willingly, but it was a terrible error. It dissipated whatever power the show had by downplaying the relationship between the two brothers in favor of what was a cliché triangle. Not exactly cliché, but certainly bordered on cliché. And then John Doyle said, no, you've got to go back to your original idea. And our very first drafts had been quite cartoony. It was meant to be a sort of Bob Hope, Bing Crosby relationship. Another, Road to Singapore, Road to Morocco. This would be, the Road to Ruin kind of a show. And it was hilariously funny. That disappeared in the Mendes production. Was a little more prevalent in Hal Prince production, but Doyle made us bring it forward, and so we got the balance that we wanted finally in Roadshow.
We're going to hear 3 numbers from Roadshow, beginning with Gold, set in the Alaskan gold rush.
Yes. The two brothers, when they're teenagers, late teenagers, go prospecting, and Wilson becomes a gambler up there, which he remained all his life. And they also discovered gold, which immediately Wilson spent all of his, and Addison used it to take a trip around the world, and which is where he discovered his potential as an architect. And I guess the second number is they've had a split in New York, and Addison is on his own in Florida, and he's a young architect trying to interest people in paying him to build houses, and he meets a very rich young man who wants to found an artist colony whose name is Hollis Bessemer. And Hollis introduces Addison to his rich aunt, and Addison charms the aunt so much that she is willing to give Hollis the money for his artist colony. So Hollis is grateful to Addison, Addison is grateful to Hollis, and the song is called You, and while they sing to each other, we see the various aristocrats and rich people who want to settle in Florida getting interested in buying houses from Addison. So by the end of the number, Addison is this hugely successful architect, and Hollis has his artist colony. And the third one is Wilson comes back into Addison's life, and he and Hollis form a little partnership to persuade Addison to build a city. And Wilson has this grandiose scheme to build this extraordinary city that will attract people from all over the United States to come to Florida, and he can then make a great deal of money out of selling real estate.
So let's hear Gold, You, and Addison City from Roadshow.
Gold, yeah, bet your little titty boys. Gold, gold, nuggets this thick. Gold, gold, go to Dawson City, boys. It isn't very pretty, but it's get rich quick. Found me a mother lode. Weren't no trick. Wanna find another lode, dig in any mountain, pan in any creek. Grab yourself a bucket and a shovel and a pick, and with a little bit of luck, lead you get rich quick.
Gold rush in the Yukon.
Richest strikes in Sutter's Mill. Boy, oh boy, if Papa was alive.
He isn't.
Let's go. Where? To Alaska?
Haven't you been listening? Gold! Sitting there and glistening. Gold just lying around. Gold dust glittering and littering the goddamn ground.
In Alaska? Way up in Alaska? Oh, come on, Addie. The two of us together. What fun. But what about Mama? We can't just leave her here.
Why not?
You and me against the world, Addie. You and me against the world. You and me together, weathering the weather, fording the crevasses, freezing off our asses. We'll never make our fortune just by sitting on the porch and looking wistful, when there are nuggets by the fistful.
Nuggets by the fistful. Time to leave the nest, time to venture forth.
Can't go further west, might as well go north, where there's all that gold. I don't know.
Grab the opportunity.
How would we even get...
That's what Papa said.
The whole thing might be over.
Grab the opportunity and take the road ahead.
I don't think he meant any opportunity.
Never be content with what you are, but think of what you can become.
Listen to Mama, she knows best. Not to grab the chance, wouldn't that be dumb?
Papa said to grab, and the world's your plum.
Did he? I suppose
Gold
so. way, but...
Your papa said you'd find your road, and here it is!
The road to riches! I'm not sure he was talking about riches, Willie. Not only riches, enterprise, adventure, Alaska. Come on! I can't go without you! We're a team!
Team? We would be, wouldn't we?
You bet we would. Okay, we'll do it. Me and you. A century's beginning, gold will make it tick. A century of enterprise for you and me to lick. Papa made it clear the opportunity is here, and if to be a pioneer means that you get rich quick, so...
A century's beginning, gold will make it tick. A
You and
century
me
of
against the
enterprise for
world, Daddy. You and me against the world.
Shall
we lay together, weathering the weather? You and me against the world, Daddy. You and me against the world. You and me together, weathering the weather, as we're entering the century of rich, quick, gold.
Never let a chance go by, Hollis. Don't you see that here's your chance? How to stoke the fire is the problem in acquiring a patron. Every patron has a matron. Let her feel fulfilled. Trust me, she'll be thrilled once she sees the house that I'm going to build. And you'll get your guild.
Aunt Ava, Uncle Edward, allow me to introduce you to your new house.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Oh, Hollis, darling, you may put me at the head of the list of sponsors for your artist colony. You may even name the administration building the Ava and Edward Stoutsbury building, if Mr. Meisner will design it, of course.
Just as soon as my schedule permits.
Where have you been all my life?
Look at it.
Look at it.
Look at it!
You're the answer to my prayer.
Notice the details.
You're one in a million.
What's that? It's enormous.
Remember the breakfast nook? Where have you been all my life?
Wait till Edith Trumbauer sees it.
Now about that administration.
Hollis Bessemer!
Hello, Edith.
Where's this Michelangelo you found for your Aunt Ava? Mr. Meisner, the house you built Ava is a work of art. You must build me one exactly like it.
No.
No?
No. It has to be something for you. I see cypress arches, mosaic floors, reminiscent of the conquistadors. I see colonnades in 100 shades, with a Roman cloister to house the maids. I see...
Lovely, isn't it?
You're the answer to my prayer.
Lovely, absolutely lovely.
You're one in a million. Edith, I'm sure Aunt Ava's told you about this artist colony.
Yes, but why is mine smaller than hers?
That's merely the West Wing. Where have you been all my life? You have the vision. They have the money. We both have a dream. I'd say we're a team. Who knew that you'd come into my life? Where have you been?
Hollis Bessemer.
Lily Cosden. I know. Say hello to Addie Meisner.
My Joshua's been very naughty, Addie. He insists on giving me one of your handsome houses for my birthday.
When's your birthday?
March 10th.
I'll see what I can do.
Make it like Edith Trumbauer's, only in blue.
Blue is for Norwegians, dearie. Blue is not you.
No.
No, you're a hacienda, a happy fusion of Indonesian and Andalusian. I see gingerbread, I see Chinese red, and a huge Victorian potting shed.
Fine, fine, just as long as it's finished by March 10th.
And a pond where you can go soak your head.
Happy birthday!
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Their house has a view of the ocean, Addie, and such a view of the ocean!
Yes, but yours has the acreage storage, yours has the privacy, yours has the cupola.
The cupola?
The cupola that Addie's just designed for you. Looking down on the Cosdens and out at the ocean.
Down on the Cosdens.
And out at the ocean.
Will Mr. Meisner a house for me?
Addie, Sophie Wanamaker.
We'll take two, make that three.
A house for Mrs. DuPont. A house for Mrs. Wanamaker.
Alfred,
I
tell
see
them I was
minarets.
next.
I see parapets. I see
It
gargoyles. A
happens.
house for Mrs. Phipps.
Grotto.
Another house for Mrs. Phipps.
A house for me.
A house for us.
A house for
A house
them.
for me.
Us.
Them, us.
Where have you been all my life? Where have you been all my life? You're the answer to my prayers.
You're the answer to our prayers.
We will make a paradise here.
One in a million.
And with your permission and your ambition and their tradition of acquisition, we'll build a place where a brand new world can play.
Where have you been all my life? Don't go away.
Yes, but this has a floating gazebo.
I have just had the most extraordinary conversation with your brother. He's got the most marvelous idea.
You're wasting your time, Willie. I'm not interested in building cities.
No? Why not?
For one thing, there are projects I'm considering that I actually care about.
Like, for example, an artist colony for Hollis?
That's what I wanted a city for artists. Versailles by the Florida Sea. A kind of haven for hundreds of artists, whose great patron saint would be me. And then I meet Willie and he says to me, look what Addie's done, and he's just begun. Why be saint to hundreds, be saint to one? Think what he can do. Think what we can do. Willie, me, and you.
Willie?
And you. You'll design a city, Addie, like no city ever seen before. Think of it, a city, Addie. Every single window, every door. You could build a Paris, Addie, but Paris made anew. A Paris for today.
Paris, USA.
A Paris made by you. Addison City.
Venice and jazz combined.
Addison City.
Every last stick and stone designed by the same screwy, brilliant mind. Addison City.
Newport with fizz.
Rio with shade.
Capri as it is, but not so staid.
Not so much a city, a parade. Addison City. The time is now. The place is now. Your chance to do what you were born to do is now. A chance like this will never come again, believe me. Embrace it now. The moment's now. The door is wide. An opportunity that mustn't be denied. Don't muff it now.
What do you think?
I think my brother would say anything to get what he wants.
Forget about what I want. What do you want?
Look around, Willie. Did it ever occur to you I've already got everything I want right now?
And how about what you used to want? You saw it all, remember? Office buildings, concert halls, and railway stations. It's like there's a whole new way America should look. And it's all up here, between these ears. You found your road, Addie. You were heading down it. You just took a wrong turn. You should build a city, Addie. Not just fancy forts for rich old farts.
Much more than a city, Addie. More like an amalgam of the arts. Something international but bold.
Everything too much.
European verve.
New York City nerve.
Only with a Meisner touch. Addison City. Don't you see, it really is a marvelous idea.
And it's a perfect fit. One investor, one promoter, and one artistic genius with a vision that could change the world. You make it up, you make it real. Leave it to me to make the spiel. Everyone gets to spin the wheel.
And what else do you get?
A chance for now to make amends. A chance to ditch the blues and pay my dues to friends. And if I chance to make a buck or two along the way, and so do you, why not?
Why not? Addie, a blank canvas waiting for you to fill it up.
Oh, come on, Addie, the three of us together, what fun!
Say yes.
You and me against the world, brother, you and me against the world. You and me together, but in very different weather, now it's pretty.
Don't you want to build a city?
All right, okay.
The time is now. The place is here. This is the chance to open up a new frontier. And if there ever was a time to pioneer, the time is now.
The time is now, the place is here. This is the chance to open up a new frontier. And if there ever was a time to pioneer, the time is now. Words that my composer of the week, this week, Stephen Sondheim, might equally have written of himself. He's been opening up new frontiers of musical theatre for the past 50 years or more. In those excerpts, we heard Claiborne Elder as Hollis Bessemer, Michael Cerveris as Wilson Meisner, and Alexander Gimignani as Addison Meisner. Our week-long whistle-stop tour of Stephen Sondheim's work is nearly at an end, and we'll bring it to an end with what you may have felt was a glaring absence so far. Yes, indeed, his best-known song, Send in the Clowns, from A Little Night Music. By the way, in case you ever wondered why clowns, it's a theatrical reference. If the show was going really badly, you'd send the clowns on to lighten the mood. We'll hear it not as you may be used to hearing it, possibly as you've never heard it before. Stephen, this is a recording you made for yourself in the 1970s. Before we hear it, can you just explain how it works in the show?
It's sung by the heroine, I guess you call her the heroine, Desiree, who is an actress about 40 years old who had an affair 14 years earlier with Frederick, who is the hero of the show, and they have begun to renew their affair, and Frederick can't go through with it because he is so smitten with his 18-year-old bride that he simply cannot revert. And this is Desiree's song of disappointment and disillusion and even anger at this unfortunate turn of events.
Stephen Sondheim, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Donald.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this week of Stephen Sondheim's music, and that there's no need for me to send in the clowns. In any case, our budget certainly wouldn't stretch to it. You can find all the details in the usual place following the links from bbc.co.uk/Radio3. And on the Composer of the Week pages, you'll also find links to the podcast versions of the programme. I hope you can join me again next week.
this late in my career. And where are the clowns? There ought to be clowns. Well, maybe next year.
Stephen Sondheim's Send in the Clowns, performed by the composer, and ending this week's programmes devoted to his music. The producer was Chris Barstow. And Donald MacLeod will be back, as he said, at the same time on Monday, midday, when his new Composer of the Week will be Amy Beach. But tomorrow on Radio 3, there's more Sondheim.
A celebration of the genius of Stephen Sondheim. An amazing cast performs songs from some of his best-loved shows with the BBC Concert Orchestra and conductor David Charles Abel.
Well, Stephen Sondheim creates a unique sound world for each of his musicals. And for Little Night Music, it's the world of the Viennese Waltz. For Sweeney Todd, it's sort of